Good morning, and thank you for joining us for a live talk with Lewis, who is an engineer at McLaren Applied, which develops and delivers advanced engineering and technology solutions. So as we say, thanks for joining us. Some of you may have snow, though well done for getting here. It's great to see so many people on the call, and thanks for the intro. So All Saints Academy in Stockton-on-Tees, thank you, good morning. To celebrate National Careers Week, Lewis will provide an overview of the numerous rewards of working in the automotive field, as well as explaining about his personal journey into this stimulating industry. Please feel free to ask any questions by putting them into the chat, and Lewis will aim to answer as many as he can at the end of the talk. So you don't want to hear from me, that's enough. I will hand you over to Lewis. Good morning, Lewis.
Good morning. So yeah, hello everyone. Today I'm going to be doing a presentation, as you can see, called Racing Ahead of the Competition, giving you insight into the pathways into how you can get into the automotive and the motorsport industry. So a bit about myself. So I'm a recent graduate from the University of Warwick, where I studied a master's in mechanical engineering. Now I currently work for McLaren Applied as an associate engineer. This is all thanks to my efforts at university. And that's now enabled me to now work for McLaren Applied, designing many electrical components and products. And so for reference, that is me on the left-hand side of the picture with one of the university projects that I worked on. That was one of my key pathways into getting into where I am today. So my aim of today's presentation is actually to provide you with some insight and some background on how to get into the automotive industry and the motorsport sector. So for today, I have an agenda. So a bit about McLaren Applied and what we do. Why engineering? Why should you be interested in it? And then why would you want to go into the automotive and motorsport industries? Then I'll cover my background about how I got to where I am now, which sort of covers the bit of the typical route into the automotive and motorsport industries, which is the university way. But I'll also cover a bit about the alternative pathways that exist. So this will be to do with apprenticeships and vocational roles. So a bit about McLaren Applied. So McLaren Applied is a technology company. We are separate to the racing and automotive companies, now owned by a separate hedge fund. We provide many products and engineering solutions to a wide variety of industries. So this includes motorsport with series such as Formula One and MotoGP, the automotive sector with McLaren itself, the automotive company being one of our customers, and as diverse as providing products to the rail and mining industries. For Applied, however, what I do is I design and virtually test our products to understand how they perform before we give them to customers. So what you can see on the screen is actually an aeroplane wing. That sort of image, you can see the different colours on it. That basically is a sort of test that I do. So the red sort of indicates where there's sort of points where the wing might break. I know we don't specifically do aircraft wings, but that's an example that sort of translates what I do. So I can sort of design out the points where there might be some failures to make sure the products all work safely. And when they go to our very demanding customers, especially those in Formula One. So why should you consider engineering sort of as a career? Well, there are several good reasons. Firstly, is that the work you do has an impact on thousands of people's lives on a daily basis, whether you realise it or not. So if you were to go into the automotive industry and design a car, that car will likely be used and seen by hundreds or thousands of people around the world on an almost daily basis. And yeah, whether you realise it or not, everything around you is engineered. Every product you see, every single item that you hold in your hands, that has been engineered by someone, and lots of engineering hours and dedication has gone into that to make it the product that it is in your hands. And first and foremost as well is that you get to improve people's lives. So you design in engineering solutions that make things better for people, and by doing that you can make people's lives easier or happier. And when you see that impact, it's very rewarding to see. And then as a career itself, there's a lot of variety of work if you're an engineer. So being an engineer, you may specialize in a certain area. So for me, I specialized in mechanical engineering. But even though I've specialized in mechanical engineering, I can work in several industries. So even though today's about automotive and motorsport, I could turn around and go into work in the biomedical sector, for instance, as a mechanical engineer. The opportunities are pretty much limitless in terms of the industries that you can go into. I think probably the coolest part of being an engineer is that you get to be hands-on. So this isn't just a normal job, a normal office job. You can go somewhere and fill out spreadsheets. But as an engineer, you get to do things like designing things, and then eventually it comes to the fun part where you get to test them and see where they fail and where they break. And then you actually get to put things together, and that for me is really the most rewarding part about being an engineer, is that hands-on aspect of the role. And then finally, being an engineer, it's a pretty high-paid job, especially if you come out of university. It's one of the most highest-paying roles that you can go into, relative to many of the other degrees that you can study whilst you're there. More specifically, though, why would you want to go into the automotive or motorsport industry? Well, there are reasons. For the automotive sector, as I sort of just alluded to, you contribute to vehicles that impact and improve people's daily lives. There's a wide scope of work that exists. So when you're working on a car in the automotive sector, you're not just focused on how the performance of the car is, but you're focused on things like its aesthetics. You're focused on its functionality. You're focused on, its comfort. So there's a whole wide variety of projects within a car that you can get involved with. And also there's the big possibility to get experience and work on technology that's at the forefront. So you look at the work that Tesla are doing with their battery design. This is really groundbreaking technology. And eventually, if you work hard enough, one day you may be able to get to a place like Tesla where you can really revolutionize the industry. Motorsport, on the other hand, is a very performance-focused industry. So it's globally recognized as particularly as one of the pinnacles of engineering, especially if you look at the likes of Formula One. And as a result, it is often a leader in the technological development, with many new technologies becoming a part of regular cars, whether you realize it or not. There's a trickle-down effect that exists. And then also, it's a very unique industry to work in. The sport itself is always changing. The regulations will always change from year to year, therefore posing new challenges and making it a very stimulating industry to work within. So for a bit of background and a bit of comparison, there are some subtle differences between the two industries, as I've sort of alluded to. So obviously, in the automotive industry, you design for purpose. You get to work on a wide variety of vehicles. So you could work on 4x4s or sports cars, each of which comes with a different set of challenges that you have to resolve. There's a bit more freedom in the automotive industry. There's less rules. You get to focus on different functions of the car, so the aesthetics and the comfort and the performance. And it's a bit of a more stable industry to work in. There's less pressure and there's longer timeframes. Whereas if you really want to work at the pinnacle, you have the motorsport sector, where you really focus on the performance aspect of engineering, and you get to work on internationally renowned sports such as Formula One. As a result, it is very fast-paced. Work is done on a race-by-race basis. Many changes over a season, so you have to be very adaptive working in this industry. And there, as a result, is a bit of higher pressure. But the rewards in this industry is, you get to travel the world, you get to receive there's higher incomes. It's very rewarding in that respect. So for myself, my journey to McLaren Applied was not a very straightforward journey. It wasn't really where I envisioned myself when I was actually back in school. So when I was in school doing my year 10, when I was in year 10, my year 11, doing my GCSEs, I had little direction of awareness of what I wanted to do. So I thought it'd be best for me to follow my dad's career and go to something into business or banking related. And so when I was doing my GCSEs, I really didn't put much emphasis on my sciences. I made sure that I could study geography, history, do business studies, take IT, and only did double science GCSE at the time. And so much so, when I was in year 10, I did work experience with my dad at his asset management company in London, which I didn't really enjoy, but I still thought it was the best route for me at the time. And all of this, really could have been avoided to an extent if, when I was at school, I took advantage of the in-school careers help service. So if you have one available to you, please do take advantage of it. Talk to your careers advisors, and they'll be able to point you in the right directions about what you're really interested in to make sure you get set on the right path where you want to go. So this sort of translated into when I was doing my A-levels. I dropped all sciences when I was doing my A-levels. So I studied maths, further maths, geography and economics, as I really was focused on getting into that banking or finance route. So hence in the background, you can see that the London skyline, that's really at the time where I wanted to end up. And as a result, when I was looking at going into university, I was debating between my maths and economics as my degree choices. And in the end, after a lot of tossing and turning, I decided that the best way for me to go was to study economics, and I was fortunate to receive a place at the University of Warwick, which is a very prestigious university when it comes to studying economics. But when I was there, I realised that during my first year, economics as a subject was not for me. It just didn't tailor to the things that I was interested in. And as a result, I was losing interest in the subject. I was still studying hard, but it just wasn't what I really wanted to do. And throughout the year, I had several conversations with various departments across the university. And I was very fortunate to be given a chance by the engineering department at the University of Warwick to join them on the mechanical engineering stream. However, to get this chance, I really had to prove to them that I was suitable for the role. So I had to prove my passion. I had to talk, had to have an interview with them, and with them, I had to convince them that engineering is really what I want to do, and I really love motorsport and the automotive sector is where I want to go. And then, as you may have noticed, I didn't do physics A levels. Therefore, I had to convince them, and part of my plea bargain, shall I say, was that I'd promised them I'd study physics A level over the summer to make sure that I was suitable and ready to go when it came to joining engineering. So then I moved into the engineering stream. In the first year at Warwick, it's a very broad, shall I say, stream. So you do a mixture, or you essentially do general engineering. So you get to study aspects of civil engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, systems engineering. And the reason they do this is because they want to provide you with a foundation or a basis so that when you go into industry, you have a bit of knowledge about each sort of different engineering stream. So that, when you have conversations with these various different engineers that you're going to be working with one day in the future, you have a bit of background knowledge about what they're talking about and you're not completely clueless. Then during my second year, I specialised in mechanical engineering specialism before moving, and then for between years 2, 3 and 4, I was then really focused on mechanical engineering, doing various topics such as heat transfer and kinematics. And then with my third and fourth year, I did my dissertations. In your third year at Warwick, it's an individual dissertation, and I decided to do this on motorcycle aerodynamics. And then in my fourth year, I did the design of a multi-speed gearbox for a motorcycle. And both of these were tailored towards motorsports. So you can see on the there's a little symbol on the right-hand side of your screen. You may be wondering, what is this symbol? What's this about? Well, that's actually the symbol of a student project that I did whilst at university, and that was Warwick Moto. So Warwick Moto is a student project completely led by students who design and build electric superbikes for competition at professional race series. So the one you can see on the screen is actually the bike that we worked on and was the bike in the picture from my graduation. And this is the bike that was my third and fourth year dissertations were focused on. So you can see that on the left is where the bike started. On the right hand side is where it's sort of the middle ground where the bike was. And then on the right hand side is what the bike finally came to be. So yeah, I did this during my final 3 years of university, the first 2 years of which I was just a design engineer, designing components for the bike, so the batteries and the mounting systems for these. And then by my final year, I became a manager on the project, so I was able to coordinate and oversee 40 students working towards the common goal of making this bike even better than it was. So just for a bit of reference, there are some statistics on this bike. So, this bike itself was capable of doing 170 miles an hour, 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds. And yeah, it was entirely student built, which was a very fun project to be involved with because you get very hands-on and lots of industry-like experience. And then through this project, I was actually very fortunate because it gave me the opportunity to go into many networking events and opportunities. So you can see on the left, I was at a show, and on the right, I was actually at a conference. So the show on the left, I got to meet many different companies from all over the UK and show off the bike that we made. And on the right-hand side was a motorsports focused conference that we as a team were invited to. And as you can see, McLaren Applied is there. They're one of the main sponsors of this event. And that's how I actually managed to get in contact with McLaren Applied. It was through this event that I managed to reach out to them, find out more about the company, and begin essentially my interviewing process with them for getting the role. Although it is important to note that during my fourth year, I was also trying to apply to many other jobs at the time, going through the usual hiring process as a graduate. There are many jobs available, and you experience many rejections during this phase, but you got to keep going, and eventually you'll find the job that suits you. And for me, this was the one at McLaren Applied. So yeah, I was very successful going through the interview process. It was very intensive, very quick, which I was very happy about, but it was very challenging at the time. And then you can see me happy that I finally managed to make it to McLaren Applied. That's me on the left-hand side, still outside the office. And what you can see on screen is a variety of products that McLaren Applied work on. So the screen in the middle is called the PCU 8D. That is the screen that you see on the Formula One cars when they're going around the track on the steering wheel. That is the screen that you see. And on the right-hand side, you see what is called the tag 320B. This is the ECU of the vehicle, or to put it simply, it's the electronic brain of the vehicle of the Formula One cars that are on the grid at the moment. Every Formula One car has one, and it's basically responsible for making sure that the Formula One car functions as it does. It controls all the engines, the sensors, and the electronics on the vehicle to make sure that they operate well. And then on the bottom in the middle is one of the other products that we do, which is an inverter, but that basically controls electricity on the vehicles, and you'll see that in a wide variety of many high performance vehicles or high performance electric and hybrid vehicles on the roads. So you may be seeing that and thinking, this is the typical route, going into secondary school, doing your GCSEs, and then going into sixth form or college and doing your A-levels before progressing to a university, and then eventually into the wider world of work and into the automotive and motorsport industries. So you may be thinking, what subjects do I need to consider if I want to get into the automotive and motorsport industry? There's a wide variety, including either both engineering and non-engineering. So this includes mechanical engineering, electrical, systems, automotive, motorsports, and aerospace. And then a wide variety of non-engineering subjects such as maths, statistics, physics, and computer science. Generally, to do these, you need to do similar subjects at A-level, including maths and preferably physics. And these will, because they're STEM subjects, there will be slightly higher entry requirements. So these will be generally AAA to AB, or AAB. So you do have to do well, but surely that's motivation to study hard during your school years and succeed. So yeah, as a result of this, you also may be thinking, do I need to go to the best university? Do I need to be the best out of everyone? And do I need to do all STEM A-levels? Well, the answer to that is not necessarily. Obviously, you still need to do well in your A-levels and get good grades, and you still need to go to a good university. When employers are looking for graduates to hire, they are looking for people who have gone to good universities, strong universities, or universities that are very strong in particular areas. So, for instance, if you go to Oxford Brookes, they have a very strong motorsports course, and therefore they are very popular to hire from. And no, you do not need to do all STEM A-levels. As you can see from myself as a good example of this, all STEM A-levels is not required. You just need to make sure you put in the hard yards and you do well. But doing well is not necessarily how you're going to get the job. You could be the best academically, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be the one hired. So you need to focus on about also standing out. So you need to look at things like when you're in at school at the moment, doing your GCSEs and your A-levels, you want to do things like such as societies or playing musical instruments, look at volunteering, do some personal projects, some hobbies, and trying to get work experience where you can. So we at McLaren Applied offer this, teams such as Williams F1 offer this. It's a good opportunity to get experience in the world of work. And the same essentially applies in your university, enjoying your societies, playing musical instruments, doing your personal projects, doing some part-time work. This is all good stuff that will look well on your CV eventually when you want to come and get the job. But I think most importantly is doing something called a student project, such as Formula Student. So yeah, Formula Student, like what I did, you get to design and build, test and race your own mini Formula One style race car. Other projects exist, however, not just Formula Student. So you've got things such as Railway Challenge, where you get to design and build mini trains, space flight, but you can design and build rockets. This is one that I think is run by Cambridge University specifically. Or you've got other projects such as Not a Boring Competition, hosted by Elon Musk, where they try to create new machines to try and make underground tunnels. But there's many university projects you can get involved with, such as submarines, drones, hyperloops, eco cars. These are all very fun projects, and they actually teach you a very good set of skills which employers look for. So things such as organisation and time management, presentation and communication. It helps demonstrate teamwork, gives you a chance to be innovative, a chance to be hands-on, and it really allows you to apply what you learn at university, which all key skills that automotive companies and motorsport teams want to see. And the results of this is that you should, when you're at university, be able to get some internships, either summer-long internships or year in industries, which may give you the opportunity to return when you graduate. So, for instance, many companies offer these, such as McLaren Applied, Mercedes-AMG Higher Performance Powertrains, Red Bull, and Aston Martin. But yeah, you may now be thinking, is university also what I want to do, or do you feel like you may not make it to university? Well, don't worry, there are many other pathways that exist. One of those being apprenticeships. So these are a bit more of a hands-on route compared to university. You get to experience the role while you're working. You get to learn while you do it as well. And some apprenticeships offer you the chance to get a degree alongside. The requirements of these is you need to do well in your GCSEs. You need to get 5 GCSEs between A star to C, or 9 to 4 as it is now. It was 8 star to C when I was in school, with good results in maths, physics and English. And what they're really going to be looking for is someone who's hardworking, passionate and willing to learn. And these are offered by the likes of Mercedes, Red Bull, Williams and Aston Martin Formula One. These are going to be very competitive though. So when you go to these and you do apply, make sure to show your best self when you go to those interviews. And with these apprenticeships, the different areas which you can get involved with. So you become things like a machinist. So you get to do all the metal work to make the parts for the vehicles. You can be an electrician. So this is someone laying next to one of the wiring harnesses that goes onto one of the cars. You can become a technician. So basically like you become a technician. So you get to work on the cars and repair them when they come in during the pit stops. Or you can become something like a software developer, developing the code that makes the cars function. But if you don't want to do apprenticeships, there are other routes as well. So you can go into something like the National College for Motorsport. So they offer technician training courses where you can become specifically a motorsports technician, get hands-on experience working in a variety of race series, such as like Formula 3, Formula 4, or Formula Ford, which is very good experiences as well. Or if failing that route, if you want to really get into go in the hands-on route, you become a mechanic, and you can always transfer from becoming an automotive mechanic and becoming into a motorsport technician. The difference between these though is that if you're with a motorsport technician, you've got to be on it all the time. There's no room for mistakes as a motorsport technician, but there are other rewards such as being able to travel with the teams, for instance. And other ways as well, you can always volunteer at track days, becoming a marshal, get your face known at go-karting events. So there are really many other ways to get yourself known in the industry, aside from just going down the university route. But that is the most typical route if you want to become go into a more technical or design role. And lastly, for those of you who are, in year 11, year 10, year 11, you may be thinking about starting to create a CV. It would be a good time to now start thinking about a CV, starting to put down some of your experiences on it, because if you do want to go down those apprenticeship routes, for instance, or getting the part-time work when you're in your A-levels or at university, it would be a good time to start putting that together. So it's never too late to start working on one. So yeah, and here is a list of useful resources. So resources that I found useful when going through this process. So you've got things like the Bright Network to give you careers advice, Grad Cracker for when you're leaving university, the University Guide for choosing the university you want to go to, and then other sites such as Youth Employment UK, who offer you STEM careers advice. And more specifically to motorsports, there's a website called Formula Careers, who help you and provide you advice and information on all the roles and opportunities that exist within the Formula One and wider motorsports series. This includes things such as the apprenticeships, work experience, and just general graduate jobs. So yeah, here's a brief summary. And yeah, that is everything from me. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Lewis. That was just so interesting, and you clearly have such a passion for what you're doing, and we hope that our audience has been inspired by you and understand that a change in career, yeah, it's not necessarily a problem. It could be opening up a future for what you actually want to do. So thank you very much. We've got lots of questions coming in, so I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Sophie, and she'll put those to you. So thanks again.
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you. So Lewis, the first question that I have got for you is, what's the best project you've worked on?
So a couple projects. So the one that I'm working on now is quite a fun project at McLaren Applied. News went out recently that we have started working on the new ECU for Formula One. So we'll have more products going into Formula One for 2030 or 2026 onwards. And then, as you saw, the bike project that I was on at university, that was 3 years of my life, but that was probably some of the best 3 years I had, because you get to experience all different aspects of engineering. And getting to see it work and ride around on track was the most rewarding thing that I think I've had at my whole time so far.
Great. How can I get work experience in motorsports?
So in terms of getting work experience in motorsports, there's different routes. I mean, the companies such as Williams and Mercedes, what they put on their websites are they'll put advertisements out for work experience placements and opportunities. So always check on their websites. I think they go up during the Easter time. So it'd be worthwhile checking out, seeing what the requirements are, and throwing your hat in the ring to see what opportunities can exist. But also, if you have any connections, any family members that may work in these industries, then always reach out to them, and they may be able to do something for you.
Okay. So do you have any opportunity to work abroad?
Not myself as a mechanical engineer, I do not at McLaren Applied at the very current moment in time, but we have many software engineers at McLaren Applied who get to travel the world. We have a team called the Field Applications Engineering Team, and they go to every single Formula One race on the grid, helping all the Formula One teams with all the problems that they may face when running their cars. So there is opportunities to travel the world, especially with Formula One certain streams of engineering.
Okay, so I've got a question here. Do McLaren do apprenticeships? I know you've already kind of said that they do, but if you could just explain a bit more, as in, are they all degree apprenticeships, or are there other from leaving school, or?
So I think the automotive company may do some from leaving school. I can't speak for the racing side, and as for McLaren Applied, however, we do not currently offer apprenticeships, but we do offer internships, and that's the closest that we offer currently. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Do I have to be good at maths to get a job in the automotive industry?
I'd say you have to be decent at maths, and you have to enjoy it, because as an engineer, you apply maths pretty much every day of your life. There's always problems to be solved. You're dealing with numbers all the time, so having a good grasp on maths will definitely be advantageous to you, and definitely will help you if you want to go into a more technical role.
Okay, great. I've got a question here. Do you prefer working on the bikes or the cars?
The bikes or the cars? I like both. When I started the bike project, I was a completely car person, but I thought I'd give the bike project a chance. But after working on the bike, I've grown to love it as well. So, I'm split down the middle on both now.
Okay. Okay. So I've got a question here from All Saints Academy. I do my own racing, and I'm interested in the design and race engineering side of Formula One. What is the best career path?
The best career path to get into Formula One? So in terms of getting into Formula One, if you're the quickest way to get into it would probably be, there's two ways. One, you can go down the apprenticeship routes, as I've discussed. So many of the Formula One teams offer these. They will give you the opportunity to become, say, like a machinist or a technician, and you'll be able to get into the Formula One team, probably not long after leaving school. But if you want to get into a more technical and design role, then going through the university route, getting work experience, and then when it comes to the end of your time at university, applying to the graduate schemes that the Formula One teams offer. So these are offered by Aston Martin. Red Bull have just started their Red Bull Engineering Academy, for instance. All of these will provide you with the opportunities to get into Formula One. By the time that you leave university, so you can graduate, and then the same year start working at one of the top Formula One teams. So those are the two most direct routes. But even if you don't make it in that way, it's always important to remember that these industries are always hiring. So if you miss your opportunity straight away, don't worry, get some more experience, and I'm sure you'll be able to be hired back by one of the companies in the future. Okay,
thank you. I've got a question here. What job would you do if you didn't do what you're currently doing?
What job would I do if I didn't do what I'm currently doing? Ooh. Well, I mean, if I'd stayed on economics, I'm sure I'd be a banker in London at the moment. But which I'm glad that I'm glad I've chosen my passion and followed engineering. if I didn't do design engineering, I'm a mechanical engineer. I probably would have gone. I did debate doing electrical engineering, so probably would still be an engineer, but just focusing on the electronic side of things instead of the mechanical.
Okay, and so I've got a couple of questions, quite similar, about what your career aspirations are for the future.
My career aspirations, to work in Formula One, a Formula One team. Eventually, one day, that would be my ultimate goal. But working at McLaren Applied is a great experience at the moment. I'm really enjoying it. And being able to have an impact on not just Formula One, but also on a whole host of other race series, such as NASCAR and MotoGP, which we do also work with, is also a very good experience. So, yeah, I just want to stay in motorsport, on automotive. That's my goal. As long as I'm there, I'm happy.
Okay, so I think we've got time for one more question. Did you have background knowledge about the motorbike engineering and concepts behind it, or did you learn this through your first years at university?
So university didn't teach me anything to do with motorbikes, in terms of like the courses they offer. I joined the project knowing nothing about motorbikes at the time. With these student projects, the thing is you don't need to have any knowledge about them to join them. They want you to just apply yourself and to learn on the role. So that's what I did. I learned during my time on the projects. I didn't know any of the parts of the motorcycle, but by the end of it, I could tell you pretty much everything to do with one. So it's just the willingness to apply your knowledge and the willingness to learn is what being on one of these student projects is all about. So don't worry if you don't know anything about the projects, because you'll still be able to get onto one of them.
Okay, that's great. Actually, I think there is just time for one more question.
Yep.
What do you see happening in the future in racing? Will it all be electric cars?
Very interesting question. I think there's going to be obviously a big growth in the amount of electric vehicles that we're going to see. Formula E is growing in popularity. I think Formula One itself is going to hold on to being a combustion engine focused sport for as long as it can, and just focus on becoming more of a environmentally friendly sport. So we're seeing that with the regulations in 2026. They're introducing sustainable fuels, so there's less carbon emissions. But I think eventually, depending on how, I think it's all dependent on technological progress. So it's quite uncertain at the moment. There's lots of questions in the industry, but everyone's just going with electric power for the time being.
Okay, thank you so much. That's great. We had really